We're now at the New York part. We just begin. Okay, so this is PowerPoint 11, and I will be explaining the various criminal variant models under Tier 1. Legally speaking, they are computer models, so they are all considered computer bank of so and so, and then they put certain country's name. So they are all considered computerized digits, computer banks of so and so, and then they insert a particular nation's names. So all these are considered variant models. So for this PowerPoint section 11, I've chosen the computer dollar model from the Reserve Bank of New York. So it is a computer model, and in a short while, you'll see that it is actually posted as a forum. It's not official at all. And it is not lawful. So there is the computer dollar model, and I'll discuss and I'll explain how it works by comparing it across other criminal variant models. For example, the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia. It is not the Bank of Russia. It is only a virtual computer bank of Russia. And I will list the names of the Tier 2 pilot test subjects, which are some of the commercial banks in New York. And then under the next point, criminal computer dollar model, we'll just look at some diagrams. The digital dollar project brochure that I was talking about, which is posted on a forum. Generally, I would just consider it as a con site because you can't really trace who exactly runs this website, or has it already been taken over by some other random Tom. It's not lawful in that sense because there's no accountability. You can't really track. The controller, the computer set could be located outside of New York City, outside of the whole of USA. So we will just look at the forum and then we will just discuss it. And next is the American dollar on the American law on the criminal computer dollar model, which clearly states that it is unlawful. And technical analysis of the Americas criminal computer programmable digits, which is not the dollar, which is not lawful money. It is not money. The Reserve Bank of New York, the IMF involvement selling this concept, the US Federal Reserve, which is not American, deployment of BlackRock. Not American meaning it did not really give the chance for the whole of the American citizens to agree on this. So it is just like a small circle of people. And so legally speaking, it will not be considered an entire nation. It will just be considered as certain individuals, they advocate a particular concept. So we will also examine this as well and how it works in theory, and what is the meaning of broad money and base money, a recap of these concepts. So there is a BIS attempt at explaining the going direct with a diagram, and also the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia, not the Bank of Russia, not Russia. We can only consider it as a a Computer Virtual Bank of Russia, Model D, going direct with a diagram. So this is an alternate criminal variant model that I choose because it can very clearly explain with both diagram and balance sheets what BlackRock was trying to explain by going direct. So that is the reason why I chose the alternate criminal variant model, the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia, not the Bank of Russia, to explain with a balance sheet and a diagrammatical concept, diagrammatical illustration to explain what BlackRock was trying to say in his speech when he was trying to explain and proposing this going direct plan, which was right before the bioweapon 1 COVID, which was that made, and bioweapon 2, which is COVAX chip. So here are some of the questions. Under PowerPoint 11, exam of the computer dollar model chip, Reserve Bank of New York, the false version. So the first question is, in the Computer Reserve Bank of New York model, what is DiFi and what is distributed ledger technology, DLT? The second question, in the IBM model, what is permission and permissionless distributed ledger technology, blockchain and quantum key distribution? Question 3, what is the Bank of America's and Microsoft's respective definitions for distributed ledger technology? Both Bank of America and Microsoft did express their versions of what is the meaning of DLT. So I'll examine what are their respective definitions. Question 4, what are the statements and points made by the BIS and the Fed chair on the computer dollar model? And what is the law, the American law, the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act? Okay, and then the next point under PowerPoint 11, in the Computer Bank of England model, what are the respective key features? How does locking mechanism, earmark funds lock, hash lock, avalanche, interoperability, and bridge alliances design work? Question 2, in JP Morgan's model of programmable payments enabled by triggers, how does programmable features work? What is the sandbox? Time traveler, event interceptor, event listener, Ethereum virtual machine, multi-computerized programmable agents, spiderweb. Question 3, in the American Express model, how does deploying a cloud-based system using a distributed ledger work? Question 4, in the Microsoft model, how is the cryptographic metadata being utilized? Question 5, in the IBM model, how do log contract in blockchain networks work? What is a UTXO operation? Question 6, in the Sprint model, what does the base receiver station BTS comprise of? Question 7, in the Visa model, how does MC bridge work? Question 8, in the Bank of America model, what is an alias? And question 9, in the Essential model, what is an event-proof certification? This is the forum. It's not legal and it's not lawful as well. And it is in fact criminal. I can just straight away tell you that because it states that it is a two-tier distribution model. But in the context of COVAX chip circuitry, it is not the conventional meaning of two-tier prior to COVAX. It was just the concept that there is tier 1, which is all the central banks, and there is tier 2, which is all the commercial banks. But with the introduction of COVAX injectables, the meaning has been altered drastically, and it can mean two-tier radio frequency or RF transmission. So this is more likely the accurate, criminally accurate version, and I will be explaining this in detail in a Synapse Hospital models in the section when I start to talk about the Sprint, T-Mobile, T-System European Gateway, Let me take a look at which section. It should be under section 3 when I start talking about American telecommunications law and the European coalition letter and a series of court cases. And then I will start to explain the criminal technical law behind these T-Mobile USA radio surgery equipment. So it's under section 3. So you can go straight to PowerPoint and video PowerPoint section 3 when it is uploaded to understand what this Sprint Mobile or T-Mobile, which you see here in the two-tier radio frequency transmission criminally accurate Sprint models appear on the two-tier digital Reserve Bank of New York with several of the major New York banks, commercial banks, under pilot testing. They have been pilot tested under this model, which it's a form, and the more criminally accurate version should really be the two-tier radio frequency transmission that the brochure was referring to in the PUB's context. And there is a diagrammatical sum up of global public-private partnership, or G3 PPP, mentioned in these computer variant models on computerized digits, or they call it digital, which really means computerized digits, programmable computerized digits, or computer monies. They're not, legally speaking, money. They are computer monies. So I will want to make it clear, and there will be a further discussion on this when I talk about the other technology, all the key technology companies, what that this global public-private partnership, or G3 PPP, can mean, importantly, at least two things. One will be satellite lock-on onto anything that is COVAX chip with circuitry in brain, or your cell phones, or any electronic gadgets, or a building with circuitry installed, or military commercial aircrafts. When I talk about in section 11, a satellite lock onto the e-vessels, lock onto military commercial aircrafts, moving aircrafts. So the other concept, because I said there are at least two concepts, so the other concept will be what I will be talking about in this PowerPoint 11, is this concept of public and private key. So that can be the second very important meaning of global public-private partnership, in addition to the first one, which is satellite lock onto military and commercial airplanes, anything that has circuitry chipped. So but in the second one, the public and private keys will just mean, in my legal opinion, which is not very explicitly explained in any of this evidence, blueprints, diagrams, brochures. The implicit PUB's contextual meaning is more of like a private key would be your personal signature, and especially if you have been chipped or you're like Wi-Fi locked on, it will be your personal signature, including like organ cells, which the perpetrators are attempting to try and map out. They call it nodes, right? So the nodes will be what has already been chipped in brain, or even without chipping, meaning like perhaps ingestion of certain things that have been Wi-Fi. And public would mean any documents that you dump on the internet. So anything you done on the internet, very likely is considered public in a way because it's like it is like, for example, any of the major social media documents. It isn't really exactly like private in that sense because it is like on the public domain. So it just considered as a public. So the public key combined with your private personal electronic signature would then be the basis according to all this computer perpetrators architecture that they were trying to talk about would be the basis for how you would access a lot of the things that have already, if they have already been somehow, they place some circuitry in there and they're using radio frequency, frequency bandwidth, increment, satellite lock on, that sort of thing. So you can see here that this is the two-tier. In Pop's context, he really means radio frequency because that is the whole reason why he wanted to COVAX the whole world. So that there's circuitry and chip in brain. So this two-tier really, in Pop's context, he really does mean radio frequency transmission. That is what he hopes to accomplish, but whether he really managed to accomplish this, not necessarily so. And you cannot let the Pope continue to accomplish this. It's genocidal, it's considered cheap genocide, cheap war crime, systematic crime, and he has a murder status. So this two-tier distribution model of physical cash and tokenized digital dollars. So this terms like token, account, and the meaning of tokenized under the broad traditional old meaning of two-tier banking system will be explained in the PowerPoint Computer Yuan, which is PowerPoint 7. So we just quickly take a look that these are the three major parties, the end users, the three tiers, the tier 1, the tier 2, which are the commercial pilot banks that have been tested. But you can see here there's the digital dollars, and I will go into certain figures that has already been mapped up and summarized for at least 4 nations that were pilot tested other than New York and USA. Under the Computer Yuan, I will be summarizing all the results. So for now, so that you can get an understanding of how much the perp was eyeing to rob from chipping and then getting the computerized digits. So for now, I just want to start off with an introduction of how it looks like on the surface and what is the real accurate criminal meaning of two-tier, which is actually, it has changed drastically with COVAX, so it really does mean radio frequency transmission, and that will be left for PowerPoint 3 when I start to explain the telecommunications law for the USA and Europe, as well as the technical criminal workings of the telecommunications vendors, which is T-Mobile, USA, and T-Systems, European Gateway, and the Sprint models, as well as also Microsoft. I will start off with Microsoft because they have a very famous 666 model, right? So I will look at that. I will explain that. So this is the BIS attempt in explaining the going direct with the diagram. So we will look at the diagram and then we'll look at the balance sheet. So before I start talking about this, I will give some background about what BlackRock was trying to say. So first of all, I'll just state that I'll list out the names of those New York banks that were pilot tested. The commercial banks test subjects involved in the pilot 12 weeks test run involving central banks, commercial banks with programmable digits, which are not considered dollars, which are not considered money, involves the following banks. They are BNY Mellon, Citi, HSBC, MasterCard, PNC Bank, TD Bank, Truist, US Bank, Wells Fargo, and SWIFT. They are powered by Amazon Web Services, and the technology sandbox vendor was SETL with digital asset. The New York Innovation Center experimented with RLN, Regulated Liability Network, and they used the distributed ledger technology, DLT. Okay, so before we start talking about the deployment of BlackRock going direct plan with the diagrammatical illustration and the balance sheet, I will just very quickly explain what is the difference between broad money and base money. So broad money is money out of thin air or loan agreement with a commercial bank deposit that the customers access as new money. So it's a loan given to the customer. So that is broad money. Base money refers to reserve holdings that commercial banks have in central banks. So I repeat, base monies refers to Tier 2 commercial bank holding reserves accounts with Tier 1 central banks. And before the pandemic, base money do not leak into broad money circuit. It was the general term given is split monetary circuit. So base money, which is commercial banks holding reserves account with the central bank, will not leak into broad money, which is the loan given out to customers or end users as new money. So in around 2019, the G7 central banks, they endorsed, they gathered, and BlackRock proposed this going direct criminal plan. So the word criminal is I mean, I think there's a lot of background noise and all that, so I think I was just temporarily disturbed. But I'm being very careful to just give a very accurate picture of what is going on. So I would just omit the word criminal, but what I like to focus on is the words going direct. What is the meaning of going direct? And this going direct by BlackRock, he was talking about instead of using base money to purchase worthless security assets from commercial banks, that the central banks use the base money to create broad money deposits inside commercial banks. So I repeat, instead of using the base money, which is defined as what the commercial bank hold as reserves in the central banks. So instead of using this base money to buy worthless security assets from commercial banks, meaning the central banks no longer are interested in buying worthless security assets from commercial banks, Tier 2. Central banks use this base money, which is money parked at the central bank by the commercial banks, to create broad money deposits inside the commercial banks. So that is what BlackRock was trying to say. So let me now explain with the diagram. So this is what he was trying to say with the going direct diagram, going direct with a diagram. So here, for example, if the Federal Reserve purchases securities from a non-bank seller, for example, SpaceX shares, Google shares, Microsoft shares, it will create new bank deposits by crediting the reserve account of the depository institution or base money at which the non-bank seller, for example, SpaceX, Google X, Microsoft company has an account with, and then the depository institution ABC Bank credits the broad money account of the non-bank seller. So he credit the deposit broad money account of the non-bank seller. Now, to further understand this and apply this to, I used an alternate computer virtual Bank of Russia, the diagram and the balance sheet to explain the meaning of going direct. So at this juncture, I would like to see if I can put a nice Russian, let's go to the Supreme Court of Russia. Okay, so this is the Computer Synapse Moscow model, the Computer Bank of Russia. This is a false version. It is just a computer virtual Bank of Russia. I cannot call it the Bank of Russia. I cannot call it Russia. So, as I mentioned before, it will just be legally considered as you are in a virtual computer game and you walk past a shop in the virtual world, a virtual shop that is called the computer bank, and then they can put like anything, any name, any country name. So it is virtual. So therefore it is not considered like a legal, tangible, official. So I can only call it a computer bank of Russia. And we will also be looking at some other things like JP Morgan systems and methods for programmable payments enabled by triggers based on mutual validation, and the legal analysis of Bank of Russia Model D, and some of the points. So these points will be the diagrammatical concepts and followed by balance sheets to clearly understand how these different types of transaction works in the virtual computer Bank of Russia. So the first one is issuance of computer digital rubles with diagram balance sheets under the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia. So first is issuance. Second is opening and replenishment of e-wallets with a diagram and funds flow upon replenishment of the balance sheets with the Virtual Computer Bank of Russia. So opening and replenishment of electronic wallets. And bear in mind, now with COVAX, the situation has changed entirely. It could be an e-wallet in brain. And that is totally genocidal and it's under international criminal law. Third is funds transfer between individuals, e-wallet with a diagram followed by balance sheet with the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia. Four is purchase of goods with the Computer Digital Rubles with a diagram and balance sheet with the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia. And fifth, final conceptual criminal diagram that I would like to just finally review in conjunction with Blackwell as the mouthpiece of going direct proposal in conjunction with engineered bioweapon 1, COVID, COVAX chip microconstruction, false, in conjunction with false infrastructural criminal act, meaning a legislative bill that is the highest crime of theft at a national level and therefore void and targeted at many nations around the world. So that will also be under international law, meaning the individual culprits will be liable for the amount stolen in a void bill. So this is what the conceptual criminal diagram of BlackRock going direct with our blueprint using a virtual computer Bank of Russia model D. So this is what the diagrammatical concept looks like under number 1, issuance of a computer digits rubles. First, to replenish user our computer programmable wallet, a credit institution called JP Morgan. So again, this is fiction because I believe there's a cessation of relationship for some time. Previously, they did utilize some of the services. So this is just a fictitious example for illustration. So a credit institution, for example, JP Morgan, sends a request to the Computer Bank of Russia for the issuance of programmable digital rubles. So what happens is that an end user, he is a customer at JP Morgan, and he uses the JP Morgan app to request from the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia to issue him some programmable digital rubles, computer money, in Russian currency, in Russian electronic currency. The Computer Bank of Russia debits or minus the non-cash funds from the credit institution JP Morgan correspondent account and issues digital rubles in the equivalent in the JP Morgan account. The legal analysis is that false credit called digital rubles is effectively transferred into the financial institution JP Morgan. This is the balance sheet, table 1, issuance of digital rubles, Computer Virtual Bank of Russia, balance sheet. For the issuance of digital rubles on the liability side of the Computer Bank of Russia's balance sheet, funds are moved from the credit institution's correspondent account by a minus 100 rubles, with JP account inside the Central Bank of Russia to its credit institution, JP Morgan e-wallet. The same movement of funds is recorded on the assets side of the credit institution, JP Morgan, by a plus 100 rubles balance sheet. So we can see here that there's an increment of 100 rubles in electronic digits, electronic wallet of the credit institution. And on this side, you can see that the Computer Bank of Russia owe an increment of 100 ruble in digital wallets owed to the credit institution. It is a 100 ruble increment in the electronic wallet that the Bank of Russia owe. At the same time, the credit institution has a reduction in 100 ruble assets, not electronic assets, but just the original paper cash reduction by 100 rubles. And the Computer Bank of Russia no longer owe this $100 in paper notes, Russian rubles, as liability to the credit institution. It's all now been converted to electronic form. So the Bank of Russia has an increment of 100 electronic digits owed as liability, and at the same time, the credit institution electronic wallet in electronic digits gained by a plus 100 rubles. Now, the second type of transaction, opening and replenishment of user e-wallets. So you can see here that the user can register digital ruble on platforms and then open a computer wallet through a remotely programmable mobile app. We will also be taking a look at the IBM Neural Network Accelerated Deployable Inference Systems and the IBM Neuromorphic Systems Application Programming Interface, an API mobile app, which is untrustworthy to say the least because the EEG types, they are capable of neural kill, and there are your electronic devices. And there will be some of the brand names that we'll be using as a sample to explain how it works. To replenish the user's e-wallet, computer wallet, the user sends replenishment instructions to exchange non-cash funds for digital rubles through the credit institution. The user account inside the JP Morgan Bank through the mobile app, JP Morgan app programmable, thus unreliable because it's not money. In the sense that the app is programmable, can be remotely programmable, updated software. So it is completely unstable, and that is why it's unreliable, and hence it's not considered money, legally speaking. It is not money. The credit institution JP Morgan carries out the procedure stipulated by various standard laws like anti-money, anti-laundering, Money Act, and so forth, and the foreign exchange legislation, and then he starts to minus debit the non-cash funds from the user account from inside JP Morgan and adds or credits the digital rubles from the credit institution JP Morgan's e-wallet inside a digital ruble platform to the user's computer wallet. The digital ruble platform sends the users a notification through the credit institution's mobile app that with the message text, the digital rubles X amount have been credited to the user's e-wallet. The entire process is merely a computer and not money digits pressing function. You can see this is the diagram. Electronic wallet request from the user mobile app that is programmable remotely, and transfer of digital rubles to the client's e-wallet, which may very well in future the Pope will just try to do it straight into the brain, which is obviously unlawful. And table 2 funds flow. So this is the balance sheet for the second type of transactions, funds flow upon replenishment of user's computer wallet. So to replenish the user's wallet, on the liability side of the Bank of Russia balance sheet, the funds are moved from the credit institution's account, JP Morgan's e-wallet, by minus 100 rubles inside Computer Bank of Russia to the user's e-wallet, user's assets by plus 100 inside the Bank of Russia balance. It looks like the user's increment of plus 100 liabilities in exchange for a reduction of the credit institution minus 100 liabilities materialized for the Bank of Russia. Meanwhile, the client has effectively reduced 100 rubles paper notes and increased plus 100 rubles in computer digits, which are programmable up and down and thus reliable and not money. In fact, he lost 100 rubles paper notes to a robot, or he trusts a robot digits and lost 100 ruble paper notes. In short, he lost 100 rubles. So what this means is that if you just look at the middle section of this 3 sets of balance sheets, you'll see that the credit institution, for example, JP Morgan, previously he owed liabilities by 100 rubles, which is in paper format, paper cash, physical form. So in that sense, compared to a programmable up-down digits, computerized numbers, a paper cash, a stack of paper cash, in its form is not able to easily change its form or change the numbers up and down. In its physical form, it remains the same. So he has just lost this stack of paper cash in exchange for electronic, computerized, programmable up-down digits as cash, but it's not really cash and it's not money. So in short, he trusted a robotic digits, and he lost $100 in physical cash or physical cash in physical form. So this is the client's account. You can see that his assets, he has just lost 100 rubles effectively, legally and lawfully speaking. He just lost 100 rubles. He gained electronic wallet of plus 100 rubles, but this is subject to a robot or a person or a computer probe that can touch the numbers up and down. So he trusts this and he lost $100 paper notes. So likewise for the JP Morgan credit institution, he no longer owed this paper note. He no longer have to care about this paper notes. It's no longer a liability. It has been cancelled. It's not automatic. It is just cancelled. And at the same time, the Bank of Russia have also relieved JP Morgan of this it doesn't exist anymore. Under this credit institution, right? The liabilities of this client account has been cancelled. It's no longer a liability for JP Morgan. He no longer have to fork out $100 cash back to the client. Meanwhile, it's no loss to him to have lost assets in electronic form as well. It's just merely electronic digits that he lost by minus 100 rubles. So he gained in a way worthless electronic digits, which is not considered assets at all. And then at the same time, the Bank of Russia, he has reduced his liability to JP Morgan, a credit institution, by worthless electronic digits of minus 100, and he owe instead the client's electronic wallet as liability to the client by a plus 100 rubles. So this exactly is the meaning of what BlackRock was trying to say when it says going direct. Because you can see here very clearly that now Virtual Computer Bank of Russia is going direct the client. It's completely bypassing this JP Morgan. He no longer owes any paper notes. Neither does he gain any worthless with a reduction of his electronic wallet, digital programmable numbers. It is not really considered asset. And the Bank of Russia no longer owe JP Morgan, a credit institution, liability has just been reduced by minus 100 that Bank of Russia, Computer Bank of Russia owe as liability to credit institution. Instead, the Computer Bank of Russia directly owes its liability to the end user client electronic wallet by plus 100 rubles. So this is the meaning of going direct in BlackRock's terms. Okay, so this is what I've just been explaining. This is the next set of transactions, transfer between individuals' wallets. So this one's transfer between individual wallets. So bear in mind, if it is a computer COVAX circuitry in brain, it will be considered a computer node. The node transfer between individuals, e-wallet in brain, that perp is thinking of for the future, and it's criminal. And he has a computer controller to control all these transactions. So we will talk about this at a courthouse or a world court gathering. So to transfer digital rubles, user A using the mobile app, JP Morgan app or credit institution A sends an instruction to credit institution A to transfer digital rubles to client B using a recipient identifier, which in the brochure states telephone number, but we all know by now that, especially in the intelligence circle, the academic field, the judges, the lawyers, the medical doctors, we all know that the identifier is actually the MAC, which is the media access controller generating number, which is why it appears it is still emitting from date corps. And we will be looking at some of this medical evidence, even from the mortuary, in the PowerPoint for when I examine all the medical evidence worldwide on COVAX. So a more likely identifier is premeditated by the computer infrastructure microconstruction. PERP is MAC, short for media access controller number generator injected into population 100 plus synapses introduced by bioweapon tool COVAX. Link satellite, also responsible for the global blood clot MET emitting numbers from dead corpse. See the mortuary medical doctors' testimonies. That is a very important medical evidence that we'll be looking at. The credit institution JP Morgan transfers digital rubles from client A's New Yorker's e-wallet to client B Japanese e-wallet on the digital ruble platform on behalf of client A. So it's a computer platform that the computer perpetrator can access. The digital ruble platform, it has also effectively replaced a lot of banks that way. So although of course to begin with there are some issues with all banks, there are illegal containers of nations' money, business accounts, and we'll be looking at the table to analyze and understand. The digital ruble platform sends notification of the debit and credit of digital rubles to the clients through an unknown perp accessible mobile app utilizing brand names of JP Morgan app and Mitsubishi Bank app of credit institution of JPM and Mitsu. So these two banks are just purely fictional. I'm just using them as examples to explain the app transaction between American and Japanese because they're dispersed in two different geographical locations. The legal analysis is that these mobile apps are telecommunications domain link space satellites by any unknown perpetrators. So this is what some of the things that are important items for discussion at a world law court congregation, because we cannot, like 100+ nations, let some unknown perp Tom or infiltration or intercept as a mobile cashier worldwide and or commit cash recurring theft or remotely manipulate digits, or he could be like a perp young Tom and you know he learned this technique, and so these are some of the important uh issues that have to be resolved clearly for 100+ to witness online. So these are some of the things that have to be discussed. Using a set of computer controllers, processors, memory. So again, where are all these computers, chips, controllers, processors, memory, computer set, space station, satellites, timetable, names of these satellite, names of these computers, names of these states hosting all this computer apparatus, controlling all the COVAX chips in brain circuitry, as well as the physical cell phone, tablets. And so again, this is something that it's a legal question. And these controller processors and memory, they configure Wi-Fi cell towers, radio frequency bandwidth for remote electric kill. Again, this will be explained clearly in the earlier part of my paper. When I start to explain how the transmitter and the kill switch, harness membrane potentials, and payload release works. Also, mobile app software design keys are created by unknown recruits of corporations. So what this means is that only the person that designed the application software and replicates, he may have replicated it for like different salesmen, attach slightly different name to the same mobile app that he replicated for different salesmen located in different countries. So he was have already sort of gained some kind of passcode access. He already known how the software app works, the programming language that he used, what does it look like, what's the architectural blueprint that he replicated across a lot of nations, for example. Then we'll have dominated certain nations without consent. So we need to figure out who is this perp Tom that used this mobile app software design keys, unknown person, or he recruits someone to do it. and what the blueprint looks like, and what are all the codes, and what are all the programming language used, is some of the legal questions that have to be resolved at a World Legal Conference. So this is a conceptual criminal diagram of going direct using the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia Model D, funds transfer between individuals' computer wallets, or COVAX circuitry in brain, which is what the perp ultimately intends. This is the balance sheet. So if it's just customer to customer, for example, Mitsubishi Aircons and the American customer, then funds will be transferred between individuals' e-wallets. On the liability side of the Computer Bank of Russia, funds are removed from the client's e-wallet to client B's e-wallet, from client A's e-wallet to client B's e-wallet. In other words, client A's e-wallet is reduced by minus 100 rubles of electronic digits, which is worthless, and an increment of client B's e-wallet, which is increased by 100 rubles, which is also worthless in computer digits. Of course, it can purchase things, you can use it, but the point is that eventually the perp is thinking that he will just do it in brain, and that is genocidal. It's international murder, is criminal. He will be like controlling all the digits, meaning he's found a way to control all the digits, everyone's brains, and so he thinks that he controls everyone's money. So that is illegal. And also it is not considered money because it's just programmable electronic store of value. And now it's worse. The perp decided he wants to just store inside the brain or the bodily cells. And also that he has already come up with a lot of ways to try and commit more crimes with this form of intrusion, bodily sovereignty intrusion. So it's stated in the document that credit institutions' balance sheets are not involved in the transfer of e-funds between clients' e-wallets. So infrastructural micro programmable COVAX in-brain chip, alternative electronic mobile devices on a remote platform, possibly external to or excluding all tier 2 illegal container banks, perps linked to satellites with perps press of digit 0000000. So this is the other thing. This is also the other reason why the perp resort to a genocidal act worldwide of chipping neural grid, because he himself can just press unlimited number of zeros for himself. And can, technically speaking, he figures that he can just buy unlimited number of things with this method. So this is blatant exclusion or removal of tier 2 resonates 1 tier 2 self-titled global pop without blueprint claiming that tier 2 role play, meaning himself attempt to perpetuate some. So what happens is that there is at least one tier 2 that states that there should still be a role for tier 2 play, but it could be more because of the reason that he would like to continue collecting hefty pay for himself. And when this tier 2 is actually a container of nations' money, illegally contained debt. So this is just very unclear when irresponsible people make statements like that, because if a perp go and claim that he has a role to play because he wants to collect more money for himself, millions of dollars, and all this while he has no way of knowing that this is happening, and he had no way of stopping it from happening, he had no way to safeguard money, he has no capability. He did not go and figure out the blueprints, the monetary architecture. He did nothing while he was collecting loads and loads of money for himself for all these years. He has no right to like just burst out a statement like this, and then it's like he's just clearly like stating he would like to continue to collect and loot more money without working at all, without looking at all this architectural blueprint, figuring out what to do, and safeguard the nation's monies and things like that. So this is the Computer Bank of Russia Model D purchase of goods with illegal digital rubles, and this is the diagram which shows like when end user scans the QR code or an identifier, which is like a MAC middle access controller generator or number injected in the population 100 plus emitting numbers, a confirms payment from the computer wallet, and then the credit institution JP Morgan transfers the digital rubles from the client's computer wallet to the seller of goods, Mitsubishi Aircon, and the digital ruble platform sends notification of debit and credit, and through the mobile app. So the legal issue here is that it could just be an external platform that is doing this transfer for both parties. So then this middle platform becomes the new bank, which is not the legal issue. The legal issue is that this new bank that intercepts and does the transaction on a common platform for both parties could be an unknown perp. That is the legal issue. An unknown perp that has control over all platforms, satellite access, computer controller, effectively over people's monies and people's transactions. That is the issue. The unknown Tom, perp Tom. So this is the balance sheet. So you can see here that upon purchase of goods with digital rubles on liability side of the Computer Bank of Russia, funds are moved from the buyer's electronic wallet to the seller's electronic wallet. For example, liability side of the Computer Bank of Russia, the buyer's e-wallet was reduced by minus 100 rubles, while the seller's e-wallet, Mitsu's shop, increased by 100, both worthless in electronic digits. It is stated or reiterated the balance sheet of credit institution are not involved. The purchase of goods with computer jewelry. So the legal analysis is, what is the reason for commercial banks being not involved? The bank are supposed to be running their respective apps. So this just means that the apps, for example, for JP Morgan and the apps for Mitsubishi Bank are not run by either banks. So that is the reason why commercial banks are being questionably not involved. Second, this can mean that electronic monies are worthless in computer digits. It's equivalent to printing cash. It's already totally legitimate since perp Tom will be pressing digits 0000000 to generate e-cash for spending. Thirdly, the perp controller with microcode placed upon the bank that lacks expertise. So they will just claim that a lot of these banks are stating that they will just leave it to outsource to some party, or they engage someone, hire someone new into that bank to just have that expertise that they were lacking previously. So then this new person, this new recruit becomes the new bank that takes over the original bank, because he is like going to be the monetary architecture in a way, but it's in a technical sense, and no one knows him. End user, the company, he's like a person that runs a computer. So the bank is just reduced to a computer chip. So it becomes a loophole for a kingpin perp, especially if he's someone that has access to the satellite and he has access to the computer controller, programming all the banks to operate criminally, to loot illegal container on nation's loot. 3 tiers. Okay, so then this is the final conceptual criminal diagram that we will examine before we end this part with using the Model D of Computer Russia. That you can see here that it is the diagram that is drawn for the Computer Virtual Bank of Russia. And that's why they have a logo here, a mini logo, but this is virtual. Okay, this is virtual. It's Virtual Computer Bank of Russia. So some of the criminal issues will be that if they have already synapsed the population 100 plus, it will be chip wallets that the perp was trying to accomplish. Users can access their computer wallets or chip wallets of Synapse Population 100 Plus on the digital ruble platform through the computer infrastructure, which could very well be the meaning of what Perk was referring to in the void Infrastructural Act signed. It refers to an infra chip for any financial institution. Microconstruction. So the criminally accurate version refers to dual crimes under the legal analysis. First is microconstruction of neural network infrastructure of the microcomputer chip Synapse Population 100 Plus, microconstructed by microbots remotely programmable by Wi-Fi. Computer infrastructure of microconstruction worker. So we'll examine this medical evidence on microbots programmable by Wi-Fi, and we will match it with a lot of the technology brands. Secondly, infrastructure construction book tab using crewds of construction workers. Military games. So this is like simultaneously happening at the same time that Perk has had pre-planned for both to happen simultaneously. Microconstruction in brain chip upon COVAX injectables, and then followed by infrastructure chip to bank in criminally. You can't really call it a bank, it's just robbery actually. So it's infrastructure construction on a physical scale of construction workers. For further details, will be in the judgment document when I will document some of these 3-4 bills which avoid. It's tap at the highest level, it's highest crime possible at the national level. And some of the evidence. Okay, so I will stop here. When I come back, I will talk about 11.3, the computer dollar, and on the computer chip Reserve Bank of New York, the false version, the definition of the BIS, DiFi, and distributed ledger technology concepts, and the American law on the computer dollar model. Thank you very much.